Yeah, it's your turn, Rob.
Yeah, okay, we got another platform question, this time on the DFL side. Congressman, I was looking at the DFL website, looking at the platform on the gun issue. Under public safety and crime prevention, it says, quote, reasonable firearm policies to promote public safety and crime prevention without infringing on the rights of hunters and other sports enthusiasts. Fairly vague. You go in a little deeper, there's an item that says 2016-17 action items. Now, there's nothing updated that says 17-18 or 18-19 action items, but that gets a little more squirrely. You know, we were talking, it says things like support background check for purchase of any firearm at a gun show through the internet or between unrelated individuals, banning semi-automatic weapons, high-capacity magazines. Where do you stand on those things? Do we need more gun laws? I guess would be cutting to the chase.
Well, we certainly need safety in this country because the people in this room, those of us who are firearms owners, I fully expect you're all going to ask us what we own. My latest purchase was an A400 Beretta last year. You can ask us what we own, what we've been shooting. These things are important. I served 24 years in the military to protect all your constitutional rights. But the fact of the matter is, when I went to high school, we put our shotguns in our lockers so we could go hunting after football. Many of you in here know that. Well, that's not the world we live in right now. And I said, your hearts are breaking the same way everyone else's hearts are breaking when either a Parkland or a Sandy Hook or a Las Vegas, and asking for some basic things. When I bought that A400, I did a background check. Have people do the background check. If somebody's dangerous, adjudicate them in court and see if they're there. I don't see the need to modify a weapon with a bump stock or move forward. And I understand when we get into individual weapons how difficult it's been. I have been around these, I've shot them in the military, I've used them, but what I know is unless the people sitting in this tent and the people who are responsible firearm owners step up and start to talk about how can we bring some of this about, and I'm not naive, this isn't going to fix all of it, this isn't going to prevent all of it, but this idea of just digging in and saying there's nothing we can do, I do support doing those things. I do support making difference, and I know if I did those things, not one thing changes for the capacity of us to have those firearms in our home, to use them in a responsible manner, and to share the outdoor heritage that we all have. So I'll continue to advocate that, because otherwise we're going to be in this deadlock where each side blames the other. There's no capacity to say, you know what, there are compromises that can be made that protect your Second Amendment rights, but still allow for improvements in safety. So that's what I will push for as your governor.
Go ahead.
So we have a pretty basic difference here between us in this particular area. I will be a fierce defender of the Second Amendment. I have been very clear in saying that I will not sign new restrictions, gun restrictions, as governor, because I hear from people after a horrible accident or a horrible action like Parkland or some other atrocity that occurs, and the answer always is, the first answer always is, if we just take these few small, reasonable steps to restrict people's Second Amendment rights, that should help solve the problem. But it's not going to. It's not going to make any difference. Banning bump stocks is not going to stop the next school shooting. And what it does is it allows us to actually ignore the real issues out there. We have both talked about the fact that when we were growing up, kids brought rifles to school to show them off, and you put them in your locker or you leave them with an adult. No one ever considered that there would be a school shooting, and there never was. There were fewer gun restrictions back then, and frankly more guns around kids than there are now, but school shootings didn't occur. So something else happened. It wasn't the gun, and it wasn't the Second Amendment. Something has happened to some of the boys and young men in our society. And we ignore that issue when we try to go to the easy answer of more gun restrictions. We shouldn't ignore that, because it's a really serious problem in our society. And I could go down a list of where I think we should be talking about, but I won't. I will just say that Tim has touted proudly the F that he got from the NRA in this election, and wears that as a badge of honor. I will tout the A that I got from the NRA, and I won't change based upon who I'm talking to.
The NRA is not the arbitrator of everything we do here. And the idea of the heritage that we live, I do think it's very important that if you've lived this and if you've been there, if you've been around these things and if you know what you're talking about, and still trying to find, and to say, no, never, I will talk about these things. Well, we went to background checks that all of us did, and guess what? That didn't change everything, and the world didn't end. So I think it's irresponsible not to talk. I certainly don't claim that this would fix everything. What I would encourage all of you, though, is don't allow this. We are a shrinking number of folks who are sportsmen and who are firearms owners in greater Minnesota and in the country. And the idea is if we are not seen as the people who know best about this and the people who can add to this conversation, at some point in time in a democracy, the numbers will overwhelm you and they'll do it for you. And why I think of simply saying, no, we can't talk about it is the wrong way to go. So this is a fundamental difference. It doesn't change the fact that I still can hunt, I still have those firearms, I still protect your right to do those very same things, and I don't think it changes our lifestyle.
Next question.